We also know from a sales perspective, and why we use story is that if you show empathy first, you start breaking down that sales barrier because it feels more conversational and it feels like you actually care about helping me. And we do that naturally as humans, most of us anyway. We have to do that as small business owners within our brands as well, if we're going to get people to pay attention to our messaging and be able to help them solve their problems.
Hey there, you're listening to the Priority Pursuit Podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping small business owners define, maintain, and pursue both their personal and business priorities so they can build lives and businesses they love.
We're your hosts, Kelly Rice and Victoria Rayburn, and today we're excited for part 3 of our Marketing Guiding Statement series. In this episode, we are breaking down exactly how to write your brand's talking points.
Guys, if you have been tuning in to the last few episodes of the podcast, you know how passionate we are about this topic, how excited we are. And in case you haven't tuned into the last few episodes, we do just want to do a brief reminder of what marketing guiding statements are. So your marketing guiding statements are just written guidelines that position your brand and business as a trusted partner. And the process of writing these statements allows you to get the information you need to write clear, concise, effective messaging in a story-based framework. Basically, once you know what your marketing guiding statements are, you have everything you need to write effective copy and to make sure all of your messaging is customer focused rather than braggy or salesy, and that all of your copy has the power to convert your ideal customers. There are 5 different elements of marketing guiding statements, and today we are simply diving into really part 1. I know this whole part thing it's confusing to us too, but yes, in the last episode, guys, we broke down exactly how to identify your audience so you know who you're creating your marketing guiding statements for. And today we are going to get into identifying your first marketing guiding statement so we can get that on paper and you are good to go there. So Kelly, let's start from the top. What are talking points, and then what do they include? And now, guys, I would just add in here really quick, this is probably going to be the marketing guiding statement that takes you the longest to write just because you have so many things that you need to identify. But when you do this, you literally have everything you need for the rest of them. So bear with us. Promise this is going to pay off. So yes, Kelly, what are talking points and what do they include?
So talking points are simply story elements. So like we discussed before, story is one of the, if not the best way to keep people's attention and help them remember things. So as a result, you can make your marketing messaging more engaging and memorable when you create your messaging using a story framework. So in my opinion, the best place to start when it comes to writing your marketing guiding statements is right here at your talking points. Because after you write them, like you said, you have nearly all the information you need to complete the other elements of your marketing messages. So as you start developing your marketing guiding statements, the first thing you need to do is to identify your 8 talking points. So the first talking points is the main idea. So when it comes to your marketing, the main idea is the takeaway, the lesson, or the thing you want people to remember and ideally memorize. The second is a question. What is the question you want your audience to ask themselves as it pertains to whatever it is that you sell or how you serve? And the third talking point outlines the problem your audience is facing. What is your ideal customer struggling with in relation to your product or service? Next are the stakes. What will happen if things go wrong if your ideal customer doesn't follow your advice? And the fifth is the guide. This is how you will support and lead your customers to a solution to their problem. The sixth talking point is the plan. The plan gives your audience a 3-step plan of action telling them what they need to do. And the 7th talking point is a call to action. Basically, this is how you will inspire them to do the things they need to do in order to solve their problem. And then the final talking point outlines what success looks like if they were to follow your advice. So this section helps ideal customers imagine what it would be like if their problems were solved. So again, after you write your 8 talking points, you have nearly all the information you need in order to complete the other elements of your marketing guiding statements.
Absolutely. So guys, again, this is the hardest part. So push through, do this. The rest is going to be easier. Now, in case you heard that list and you're like, okay, great, you lost me on number 3. I'm not really sure what that means. We are going to dive deeper into all of these and then also explain how they are related to story. So again, your talking points are story elements. Like Kelly said, story is the best way to help people remember things. In fact, like we as humans, we love stories, and we are actually 22 times more likely to remember something when it is presented in a story format. As a small business owner, you can use this to your advantage by framing your marketing around the story framework. So yes, we're going to dive deeper into each of these and, talk a little bit about Finding Nemo because it's a really great, easy to understand story. And whether you are a parent or a millennial who grew up watching it or, Gen Z, and now I'm showing my age, but everybody has seen Finding Nemo, I hope. So Kelly, let's dive a little bit deeper and talk about, like examples of talking points, but then also we want to break down how our listeners, how small business owners can define their own talking points. So yep, let's take it from the top. Let's start with the main idea.
Okay, so the first talking point is the main idea. So in story, the main idea is a sentence or short statement that explains the meaning or the biggest takeaway that you would have from reading a book or watching a movie or going to a play or whatever the story element may be. For example, in the movie Finding Nemo, you could argue that the main idea is that you need to be able to trust others in order to live a fulfilling life. So when it comes to your marketing, the main idea is the takeaway, the lesson, or the thing you want people to remember and ideally memorize. Now, when it comes to writing your main idea, don't overthink this. Instead, simply write down what you wish your customers and your audience understood. So for example, Tree Frog Marketing's main idea is having an effective marketing strategy is critical to a small business's success. So as an agency, we know that an effective marketing strategy means we have to create messaging before strategy, but our main audience doesn't always know this. So it's important to keep this main idea very simple and straightforward.
Moving on to number 2, I suppose. But yeah, guys, don't overcomplicate it. I mean, I think that a lot of times as small business owners, because we just want things to be like perfect right away, like this, yes, this has to be the exact right answer. Like, don't make this one overly complicated. Like literally,
Right.
main idea. What do you want
This
your
is what
audience and
yes.
customers to understand? Like, what do you wish they knew?
If there's one thing they're going to take away, what is it? That's what you want.
Yes.
And then the second talking point is actually a question. So the next story element that your marketing messaging needs to include is a question, which might sound a little weird, but good stories are engaging because they include a question that the audience wants answered. So going back to Finding Nemo, the question is will Marlin, who is the dad of Nemo, find his son Nemo? Everybody wants to know, oh my gosh, will he find him? And it may not be a question that you're asking externally, but it's a question that you're asking internally. So again, stories are engaging largely because the audience wants that question to be answered. And as a result, in your marketing, you need to present a question that makes your audience want to keep reading, listening, or watching to find that answer. But again, don't overthink this. Simply write down the question you want your audience to ask as it pertains to whatever it is that you sell. So if we go back to using an example of Tree Frog, our question is how quickly can you reach your business goals if you had a marketing strategy that actually worked? So this question is, again, something that we could literally ask someone to help make them aware that this is a question that they need to pay attention to, or it can be something that we want our copy to just innately resonate through them subconsciously.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I guess I would just throw in here really quick, like, guys, it's so important for you to decide what this question is so that way you can get your customers to engage with you. You can get them going down that path. They might have a lot of questions that they want to ask, but chances are there is a main question, and it's important to actually pose that question and not just necessarily assume they're going to get there on their own.
Mm-hmm. And the question is obviously related back to the main idea, because you want them, if that's the main idea that you want people to take away, the question needs to be presented around that. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
All right.
All
Now
right,
moving
number
on.
3.
Number 3. So number 3 talking point is the problem. So having a main idea and a question are great, but story only ever gets interesting if it includes a problem. So basically, to keep your people's interest, something has to go wrong or unexpected. Because if we watched a movie where, everything was just in perfect order, we would be like, what's the point of that? Oh, great. He got coffee or whatever it is. But if we go back and we stick to the Nemo example, the problem in his story is that Nemo was taken. He was kidnapped. He was taken out of the sea. Oh no, what is going to happen, right? We have to stick around to figure this out, which goes back to answering our question, how is Marlin going to find Nemo? So like we discussed in the audience overview section, your customers also have to have a problem in relation to your product or service. Now, it might not be an emergent problem, but your ideal clients certainly have a want or need that you can help them solve. So to identify your client's problem, simply write down what he or she is struggling with in relation to your service. Now, chances are your product and services can solve multiple problems, but for your ideal customer and for the sake of clear and concise messaging, it's important to only focus on their biggest problem. So again, going back to Tree Frog, our problem in this first guiding statement is, unfortunately, your plate is full and you don't have time to learn all the things marketing or the time to implement a marketing strategy yourself. So we're telling small business owners that we know you don't have the time to do everything that you need to do because you're extremely busy. So the problem needs to be something that is right in their face, that's causing them a challenge, that they're not sure of the obstacle, that how they're going to get over this. So number 3 is definitely defining what the problem is that your audience is having.
Yes. And guys, hint, if you listen to our episode about, your audience overview, you should already know what their problem is. So go back. We'll include the link to that episode in the show notes as well in case you missed it. But the beautiful way, the wonderful thing about the way that Kelly has organized the marketing guiding statements, again, is that they all one flows into the next one. So you're not starting from scratch every time. And once again, I'm just going to say this one more time, guys, this is the hardest part. The talking point's literally the hardest part. You're trekking. Don't stop now. Okay. So Kelly, number 4, let's talk about the stakes.
All right. So the 4th, like you said, is the stakes. And the stakes are just another necessary story element. So in other words, in every good story, the audience has an understanding of what will happen if things go wrong. So in Nemo, the stakes are, if Marlin doesn't find Nemo quickly, Nemo will become Darla's pet. He will likely die, and the father will never ever get to see his son again. And that is awful stakes. Nobody wants that to happen. So just like in a story, your ideal customers need to understand what could happen if they don't work for you. Work with you, not for you. But the idea is that if you know that they don't have enough time, or they're overwhelmed, or they're all of these things, the stakes basically says, hey, this is what's going to happen. This is what your life is going to be like. So for this part of the exercise, we're not really asking you to be all doom and gloom. But your potential customers do need to understand how they will be worse off if they don't work with you or if they don't buy one of your products or services. So in a single sentence, explain what your ideal customer situation would look like without your product and service. And remember, it literally can look like their life right now. They're overwhelmed, they're busy, they don't have enough time to do whatever, all of that. So for example, Tree Frog's marketing stakes, it reads, without an effective marketing strategy, you likely waste time and money on marketing initiatives that don't work. So we're simply reminding them, if they don't follow our advice, they will end up here where they are, or stay in the position that they're in now, right? So when we start to tell them about the where they'll end up, it could be a little bit more doom and gloomy, or we just simply remind them that, hey, where you are is not the best place that you want to be in. That's what the strategy behind the stakes really is.
And I guess I would also just throw in here too, just, as a little bit of reassurance, like Kelly said before, guys, it's okay if what your clients are dealing with is a first world problem.
Mm-hmm.
That is totally fine. I think that sometimes, especially when you talk about the problem or you talk about the stakes, like so many of us get caught up in the like, well, like we're not curing cancer. I don't know how much this actually matters. Or maybe I'm not actually making my client's life better. I'm not really like, no, they still have a problem. They still have a want. They still have a desire. They still know what they want their lives or businesses to look like. And you absolutely need to state that and play on that, because this is something that is weighing on them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
anyway, just in case anybody needed that little pep talk before we move on to the fifth talking point.
We're almost there. So the fifth talking point is where you define the guide. So in marketing, this story element is the easiest of all because you get to become the guide. So if you remember from the previous episode, it's really important for you as a small business owner to be the guide in the story and not the hero, because the hero typically can't save the day or solve the problem alone. And as a result, in most good stories, there's a guide who comes in and leads the hero along the way. And that's where you want to be able to position your business. So it might sound funny considering that she has a short-term memory loss, but in Finding Nemo, Dory is actually the guide. You know, she's the one that peps Marlin up. She's like, we can do this and what we need to do. And then, but ultimately, Dory also is the one who helps Marlin travel all the way across the ocean and learn to trust others and to be brave. So like Dory guides Marlin, you want to be able to guide and empower your clients and prospective customers to solve their problems. And to do this, you need to establish yourself as a guide by first showing empathy and then by offering a solution to a problem at hand. So to write your guide statement, simply start with an empathetic statement such as, we understand or we know, to show that you understand how your customers feel. Then, without bragging or sounding salesy, right? Because nobody wants to feel like they're being sold to, you need to present a solution, because every good guide starts off with empathy and then they show some kind of authority over the situation of, I've been there before, I know how to do this. This is what you need to do to succeed. So again, going back to Tree Frog, our guide statement is, at Tree Frog Marketing, we understand your frustration and how hard you work to serve your customers, team, and loved ones. Because of this, we've designed scientifically based marketing systems that will help your small business save time, increase profits, and feel confident in your marketing. So we're showing empathy as a good guide always does first. Then we tell the hero of the story, which is our customers, that we know how to solve their problem. So if you don't have enough time and you don't have enough energy and you feel like banging your head against the wall, you don't have to do that anymore because we've been there and we know how to solve it. So that's the idea of creating a guide statement to help you become the guide and your customer becoming the hero.
Yes. And guys, this is so important. I mean, we've talked about this in past episodes already, but yes, your client needs to be the hero. You need to be the guide. And sorry, Kelly, while we're on this, I just want to touch on two things really quick because, again, it is so important. So we know that, human nature, like you naturally want to be Superman or Superwoman, like you want to be the one who saves the day. Like it's just, for whatever reason, it is in our nature. But we do just want to remind you really quickly that the guide is actually the one with more wisdom. They are the one with more authority. In a good story, that guy, a likable guide, is not going to claim that they have more authority, but they're going to be there to be a supportive figure. Like if you think like Star Wars, it's like that's Yoda. Yoda's the guide. He makes the rules, does the things, like does the backflips. Like everybody else is kind of struggling, and Yoda is at peace because he knows exactly how this works. But then, guys, you also want to talk about I just want to talk about really quick the importance of going through and writing your guiding statement, because as you are developing everything marketing wise, you want to make sure that you are coming back to refer to your guiding statements. And like Kelly has said already, nobody likes to be sold to. Nobody likes to run into, like that person who only talks about themselves, what they're doing, what their kids are doing, and they don't ask anything about you. By taking the time to define this element, you're giving yourself something to refer back to on a regular basis, just to help ensure that all your messaging, and even honestly, even your heart is staying customer focused. So that way you can ensure your messaging is working, but also that you're serving your customers well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Because we've all run into that person that you described that just starts telling us all kinds of things, how they can solve our problems. But we also know from a sales perspective, and why we use story is that if you show empathy first and you start breaking down that sales barrier, because it feels more conversational and it feels like you actually care about helping me. And we do that naturally as humans, most of us anyway. We have to do that as small business owners within our brands as well, if we're going to get people to pay attention to our messaging and be able to help them solve their problems.
Absolutely. And I mean, connection, especially when you have a small business, like that personal connection is, very much a driving force as to why somebody would want to work with your small business. Okay. We'll get back on track. So sorry. And again, guys, we said in past episodes, these are just things that we are so passionate about, and we can literally talk to you about it for hours, but we like to keep these episodes short and sweet. So you actually have time to go identify your own guiding statements. Okay, Kelly. So number 6, let's talk about the plan.
So number 6 is absolutely the plan. So you need to give your audience a 3-step plan. Why 3 steps? Because the brain loves sets of 3. It's easier for it to understand. So the plan is a critical step in both story and marketing messaging, because without a plan, there's confusion. For example, if Dory hadn't told Marlon that they needed to go P. Sherman 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney. I mean, how many of you actually heard Dory's voice saying that, right? If she didn't tell him that, and she didn't tell him to trust other fish and animals along the way in order to be able to save Nemo, Marlin wouldn't have had any idea how to find his son, and he still would have been swimming in circles, completely worried. So similarly, unless you present your audience with a clear plan, they don't know how to solve their problem by utilizing you as well. So to help to put your audience at ease, and so they know what to expect when they decide to work with you or purchase from you, write a plan that includes 3 steps that leads potential customers through what it's like to work with you and ends in success. So to make the process easy, we did create, there is the formula that you can follow. So step 1 is basically tell your potential clients or your potential customers what to do first in order for them to be able to start working with you. Something like schedule a consultation or buy now. And then step 2, give them insight into what it's like working with you, because nobody wants to feel like they're in the dark. They don't want to guess. They don't want to be uncertain. And then 3 is show success. So if you do these 2 things, this is the benefit that you're going to get. So for example, again, going back to Tree Frog, our 3 steps include schedule a 30-minute consultation to discuss your marketing challenges and business goals. Do this thing. 2, count on us to create and implement your custom, scientifically based marketing strategy. Oh, okay. I'm not going to have to do work. They're going to do the work, and it's going to be great. And then the 3rd one is breathe, knowing your marketing strategy is working even when you aren't. So now we're giving the audience a glimpse of what it's like to not have to worry about their marketing all of the time. So we want to help customers feel confident in their decisions to work with us or to purchase our products. This is what that 3-step plan is all about. The 7th talking point, we're almost there, guys, is the call to action or a CTA. And I'm sure that you've heard both of those. So we're going to reference CTA just because it's less words. Now, the plan, which is very helpful, is you need to tell people to do this, and do this. But we also need to inspire them to take action, because if we don't tell them to take action, they're not going to do it. So just like Dory told Marlon that they needed to go to P. Sherman 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney, having a clear call to action is extremely important, because in order for your marketing to be successful, you need to inspire your potential customers to act before you lose their attention. So your CTA should be very similar to the first step in your plan, but it needs to be extremely concise. Preferably 3 words or less, so that it's easy to understand, it inspires quick action, and you can actually fit it into like buttons on your website. Now, a lot of people will just go, oh, great, we want people to contact us. Well, that is definitely a common call to action, but it's so unspecific that we don't suggest that you do that. So when you write your CTA, the more specific you can be, the better. So Tree Frog's example is schedule a consultation. We're basically telling the potential customer that all you need to do to solve your problems is just to connect with us. So you need to be very clear about what you want them to do. And something like contact us is not really a great way to do that, because then the brain wonders, contact you to do what?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And like
Yeah.
we talked about in the plan section, people like to know what to expect. And I mean, especially if, they're feeling nervous about something. I mean, when small business owners, contact us at Tree Frog, it's like more often than not, they're coming to us like frazzled because they have no idea what to do with their marketing. I mean, from a wedding photography side of things, like brides and grooms come and they're like, we've never done this before. We have no idea what to do. And so, I mean, just to give you one more example, like on the wedding photography side of things, like my CTA is to schedule a coffee date. And so therefore they know the very first thing we're going to do is like, just go have coffee with Victoria and we will figure the rest out from there. So yes, guys, the more clear, the better, the more specific, the better. And then also, we touched on this in past episodes before, but people's attention spans are just so ever loving short that your CTA is really powerful in that you can get people to do what you want them to do before their goldfish like attention span like starts focusing on something else. And like maybe they wanted to contact you, maybe they wanted to schedule a consultation, but they literally forgot. Like like Dory, coming back to Dory, like the short-term memory loss. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, sparkles. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Okay. Can't believe we're saying this, Kelly, but we have made it to the last one. So tell us
Mhm.
about the final talking point.
It is outlining a successful outcome. So last but not least, you need to show your customers what success can look like so that they can imagine what it would be like for their problem to be solved. So, for example, Finding Nemo wraps up with Marlin, Nemo, and Dory happily living and enjoying life in their community and just living without fear, right? Because fish are friends, not food. So, right. In the same way, in your marketing, you need to show your customers what life will look like for them if they follow your advice. And that can be accomplished with a simple statement. So chances are you can write your success statement with a simple formula that kind of reads like this. When X happens, or when your customer does X, they will get Y. So for example, Tree Frog's successful outcome is when your marketing actually works, you can breathe knowing your strategy is always helping you generate new business, allowing you to fully focus on the other important aspects of your business and life outside the office. It is very important that your successful outcome is written in a way that will help your audience visualize a positive experience. And that's it. And those are your talking points. I say that's it, like they're really easy to create, but they're not. But the work that you're putting in will pay dividends for years to come. So remember, after you write these, you will literally have almost everything that you need in order to complete all the elements of your marketing messages.
Yes. And so, yeah, guys, if you can make it through this one, you're halfway done, probably more than halfway done. And then from moving forward, it'll just be a lot of formula following so you can get everything on paper. And so that way you can ensure that your marketing messaging is concise and clear and inspires action. Now, guys, we have mentioned this in past episodes of Priority Pursuit, but we will be slowly but surely airing more of these episodes. So this series will all be available online here within the next couple months. But if you are listening to this and you're like, oh man, I really want to knock this out right now, maybe it's just a good time in your business to be focusing on this. Like, and also, side note, it's always a good time in your business to be focusing on this because when you do and you have your guiding statements, you know that your marketing will work. So if you want to knock out all the steps, you can actually hear this entire series and download a guide that walks you through step by step how to write your marketing guiding statements at treefrogmarketing.com/marketing guiding statements. Again, if you go to treefrogmarketing.com/marketing guiding statements, you'll be able to access all of these episodes immediately and download a guide that allows you to get all of this information on paper. So If you are driving and you did not have time to take notes, that is okay. We have everything there for you, but spaces that you can write your own guiding statements. Guys, like we've said in so many other episodes, there's so much power in having your marketing guiding statements because they ensure that your marketing works. Before you start messing with marketing tactics or implementing a marketing strategy, you need to determine your messaging so that you know what to say and so that you know your messaging will convert your ideal customer.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to continue having these conversations super passionately because we know how important they are. But thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Priority Pursuits. We're your co-hosts now, Victoria Rayburn and Kelly Rice. And as always, we are over here rooting for you and your priorities. We'll talk to you soon.